In what can only be described as a laughable attempt to salvage the reputation of Georgia's Stacey Abrams as some kind of Pyrrhic victory, Axios is putting out a pre-damage control report on the darling of the Democratic Party for when she loses to incumbent Georgia Governor Brian Kemp in less than 2 weeks. You're not going to believe the fluff that they're trying to sell this time. Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to be discussing how the cards just don't look very good for Stacey Abrams, who was running for governor against the incumbent Georgia governor, Brian Kemp, who defeated her in 2018. And now left-wing sites like Axios are doing their level best to keep her from going bonkers yet again if she loses again. It's okay, Stacey. You're a big winner. Again. So if Stacey Abrams loses on November 8th or the 9th or the 10th or however long it takes Fulton County to count all their ballots, Axios is trying to make everybody think that if she loses again, that she, quote, has amassed the influence and financial strength to play a long game statewide and nationally. So how does that really work? You can't get elected statewide in your own home state, not once, but twice. But you supposedly gain long-term strength in your state and nationally? Are they talking about the presidency? This woman has run off business, has hurt the Georgia economy, and pushed the racial divide even further in a state while being herself an election denier. She's a real great example of leadership. I mean, she ran the All-Star game out of Atlanta over election integrity laws that made it easier for everyone to vote and harder for people to cheat, costing millions of dollars to many black-owned businesses. So the way Axios is thinking about it, the more Abrams loses, the more powerful she gets. You know, there's a few years that I wish the Philadelphia Eagles thought the same thing. If that's the case, I mean, shouldn't Major League Baseball award the World Series to the hapless Washington Nationals as opposed to the Houston Astros or the Philadelphia Phillies then? In a recent article by Axios, ridiculously titled The Making of Stacey Abrams, written by two real suckasses, Emma Hurt and Thomas Wheatley, they began their Abrams fairy tale. They wrote, Stacey Abrams became a household name following her historic 2018 bid to be Georgia governor, her voting rights work, and her White House ambitions. First of all, her voting rights work has been nothing more than to scream and rant and rave about voter suppression, even though there was no voter suppression in the sense that she talks about it. Okay, voter suppression is fine if Democrats do it, either at the ballot box or where they count the votes. But for Stacey Abrams, voter suppression is when she loses an election. So the fairy tale continues. Since her last time on the Georgia ballot, she's gone from state lawmaker and tax attorney to a sought-after national speaker with lucrative book deals. Less well understood is the network of nonprofit and for-profit enterprises the Democrat has built over 2 decades and how it laid the groundwork for her national platform and her rise to millionaire status. And yet it still continues. Over the years, Republicans in state government have alleged unlawful blurring of nonprofit and political lines among these groups, as well as voter fraud during her voter registration efforts. Of course. Accusations she and her allies have decried as politically motivated. Yeah, sure. Every accusation against Stacey Abrams is politically motivated, but nothing she throws accusations at other people is ever politically motivated. That's how it is for Democrats. So she can cry systemic racism and voter suppression all she wants, even after Ted Cruz destroyed her during testimony, when he pointed out to her that in Georgia, the top group of Georgians who registered and the highest number of people who voted were Black Americans in Georgia. So she can't point to real voter suppression in her state, yet she still cries voter suppression at the drop of a hat. So, in the end, we have here Axios put out a tweet that says, regardless of the outcome in November, Stacey Abrams has amassed the influence and financial strength to play the long game statewide and nationally. More than a dozen Democratic officials and operatives have told Axios. What the hell do you think they're going to say? What do you think they're going to say? She's a lunatic who still thinks she got elected in 2018? So no matter how flowery the language gets when the left writes about Stacey Abrams, they know in the deep recesses of the vacuum in their heads that they call a brain, that the darling of the Georgia Democratic Party is about to go 0-2, and she's got no one to thank but her radical, lunatic, progressive self. So thanks a lot. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you in the next one.